Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, to control our generous patrons who kept us going for over 500 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Ost Night. Ost Night. I might be saying your name. I might have been saying your name wrong this entire time, dude. It might be Oust Night. Auste Night. I might be saying your name wrong. You got to correct me. You got to let me know. But been a dude for quite some time. Thank you so much. Thank you for sticking with us. At a producer level, yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a weird week. Two games that I should be just pouring over. Haven't played them yet. haven't
really.
Yeah, got them. Haven't played. I mean, Battlefield 6 still looks great. I have purposely avoided other people's opinions on it. It still looks great. I just haven't played it yet because I've been playing my old GameCube library. I was running through GameCube games, and while this isn't the topic of the episode today, although it does sort of play into it, I just want to say I may be having to come to grips with the idea that modern gameplay loops are uninventive. Maybe gameplay loops peaked before story became king in games. And I'm a story guy. I love good stories, but I might be having to confront not specifically the GameCube, just like that era, that time, like gameplay loops might have been better. They might have gotten worse isn't the right, just less inventive.
I don't know. I think it really depends on what you're talking about in a sense, because it's. I mean, I guess you're assuming, like, we're talking like a full published AAA kind of,
yeah,
over designed, and they've definitely gotten over designed in a sense. But then, there are games now like Mega Bonk, which is taking off of Vampire Survivors and many other indie games that are just
playing a
like
lot of that lately.
Lethal Company. It's all about the loop. Loop is the only thing that matters. Like
that's true.
How many roguelikes, roguelite, whatever games that like everything is about the loop. The loop is king kind of thing.
But I would also say that those loops are old school game loops. Those are not necessarily brand new game loops. Those are old tried and true game loops. It's just like I don't know. Let's shit on one that I like. The Last of Us 2. I like The Last of Us 2. I think the story's good. I think I actually think the gameplay is really good. But like the gameplay loop isn't necessarily like addictive. You're not just like hopping in there.
Well, I think things kind of got obsessed with like getting you to the next story beat rather than is the gameplay
just like chewing on the gameplay.
Is the gameplay between the story beats fun? This is kind of my problem with horror games, survival horror in general. I've never liked survival horror as much as you would think I would. It's been surprising to me how many people have been asking me about Silent Hill F. Are you going to play Silent Hill F? Are you going to play Silent Hill F? And I'm like, I don't really have a huge history with the franchise at all. Obviously, I've played a lot of Resident Evil. I tried playing the remake, but it was like Unreal Engine problems were a thing. But anyways, it's like the thing I don't gravitate towards Silent Hill in a lot of horror games in general. I don't like the way they control. I think the gameplay loop is usually kind of crap in most horror games. Like, it's on purpose. It's made to be scarier, and I'm like, I don't care. Like,
I mean, I suppose that's why we both love RE4 and me RE5 so much is the gameplay
RE5, or RE4. Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest games ever made because the moment-to-moment gameplay is engaging and it's fun, and you don't feel constricted. You don't feel,
but it's also not really all that scary.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. I think the idea of like, oh well, it's not Lost scary. For one, I have seen multiple people in my life who are terrified of RE4 even more than the other games because they have panic of choice. because when a mob is rushing them and they have choice and options, they actually panic more than if it's like slowly, calculating, going through a narrow corridor, and something spooky is going to happen, and you're sort of like mentally trying to prepare
Right.
yourself for each sort of like scripted encounter. The unscripted nature of RE4 and 5 is terrifying to some people. It
And
is.
and facing down an overwhelming crowd
Right.
is, yeah.
Is it generally considered as scary to most? No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm saying like there it is a small group of people. It is a smaller group of people who get scared by the wealth of choice, the sort of freezing aspect of like of mob mentality. Oh my god, there's a mob and I have all these different things I can do, but I don't know what I should do. Because some people almost, I think, take comfort in the sort of this is what you're supposed to do aspect of many survival horror games, where they're very much like puzzle games. There is a yes or no, there is a pass or fail kind of approach to a hallway, to a room, to an encounter. Like just encounters and boss encounters in general, like they're pass or fail. This is what you do, and if you don't do that, you fail. Whereas in RE4, like it's not pass or fail. It's kind of like you just need to get here. How you get there, up to you. What do you mean up to me? I don't know how to do this. And it's almost like panicking because okay, like it's not like, oh, just sit here and think about it, because you can't, because this guy's axe on fire. He killed your parents. He's coming right at you.
Well,
You know? So,
I mean, I just used Last of Us 2 as an example, but that's one of the things Last of Us 2 does, where it's all like you have to get to this point, and how you do it can be different every single time.
yeah.
And the gameplay and the combat in it is really good. But what I mean is, like, it's not like with RE4, there's like an arcadiness.
Yeah.
Maybe I just miss arcadey gameplay loops. That might just be it. It might just be that I miss
Well,
arcadey
because
gameplay.
because arcades are meant to give you like they need to get you instant satisfaction, because
Yeah.
one, the idea is that they want to kill you, and two, they want multiple people. So arcades always had this idea of like get you in and get you hooked as fast as we can, and then kill you as fast as we can,
Eat
so
your
that you either
quarters.
give us more quarters or the next guy waiting gets his turn. So that's kind of the idea, is that like it's sort of like it forces itself to be engaging right away, because if it's not engaging right away, if we have to explain things to you, like it's not good. It's like arcade games are almost like comedians. The joke has to hit right away. And if you have to explain the joke, it's not a joke, right?
Right.
So that was arcade gameplay, is like shit has to be immediately funny, shit has to be immediately fun. And I think that was there's a sort of beauty in that design of like just like no, we you shouldn't it should not take very long at all to explain to you how to move, in the game, how to move the character or do the thing. Um, it should be like, oh, that's how you do things. Great, like immediately get it, and then that's fun. I want to keep, and then making you want to keep experimenting, because that's the thing about RE4 is that you have this knife. You hold down a button for pull out, the hold to aim the gun or hold the knife out, and the knife can do all these different things. The bullets can do all these different things. The enemies react, shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the arm, hit them in the head,
But you
body
get it
shots.
pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, you can experiment with this, and it's, oh, if you get them down on one leg, you can do a kick or a suplex, okay, and it's different from behind, and then you slowly introduce things like fire effects and flashbangs and
And
what
yet
have you.
people
So
hated RE6, which essentially did similar things with its combat.
yeah, but
Figure
RE6
out
is, again, here's the problem. Doing the really advanced stuff is not told to you, and it's not exactly like intuitive, because it's all about like holding directions, clicking sticks, moving things, and then like you have to do all these like pretzel motions, treat your control like a Rubik's cube, and then you can do this cool stuff. It's like doing the cool
I
thing in RE4 is not really hard to do. It's not deep, but it's like aim, shoot, you know, walk up, press A, and that's how you like shoot a guy in the leg, suplex him. Ain't
but,
difficult.
this is another reason why probably open world game fatigue
Mm,
is happening. Is setting in, even for people that like open world games, you know, people are just getting tired because the unleashing you on an open world, like everybody knows what to expect, and no, like there's not any wonder anymore with them.
right.
It doesn't have the wonder to gloss over the fact that most of what you're doing is walking around.
You're
That's
mostly just a tourist.
Yeah. Interesting aside, but there was interesting news that spawned a topic of conversation between us before this. Now I didn't read into this. You read into it, but the gist is that somebody hacked Game Freak.
Yeah. So Game Freak, the 1/3 owner of the Pokemon company, got hacked.
And
They're
the actual developers, right? They are the
Mhm.
developers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through a phishing email scam, from what I understand. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
Old
there's
school.
like old school, like someone sent a link in an email, someone clicked it, and oops, I swiggity swooty, I have access to your server. but yeah, again, there's a whole talk about like people who are in cybersecurity know that most big companies spend so little on cybersecurity, strangely. But
Oh, well, so a friend of mine is the number two of cybersecurity at a huge German firm that I
mm,
will not name, but it's very big. And their cybersecurity department is two guys.
yeah,
And so he gets the VP title, but it's just him and the president of cybersecurity. So you guys, and he spends most of his time convincing middle-aged to older executives not to open suspicious emails. That's most of his job. Going into meetings explaining why this email phished you. So
there's a
rough
very, but
times.
again, it's shocking how little is actually spent on this stuff. So, but again, I don't know the details. I'm not even sure if it was a phishing email. I think it was, but that aside, 5 years, their next 5 years just revealed, open now, open in the wild. Everyone knows
That sucks.
everything they have planned for the next 5 years, release wise. And we don't really need to go into the details of it because there's a sort of moral question there, which is should people should journalists, we're not necessarily, we're podcasters, but like, should media and journalists, should we be commenting on this? Some people already have. There
We're the
was a big
worst kind
Nintendo,
of journalist.
well, there was a big Nintendo leak, the Nintendo Giga leak or whatever, and some places, there were a couple places that
Published,
reported
yeah.
on it, and a lot of places were like, we're not going to report on it, just out of
Well, because
sort of
Nintendo will
ethical.
blacklist you.
Sure, there's that. There's always that, and I don't think we don't need to go into the details of it. I don't. Mm, this isn't just sort of like react to what you learned. I think that there's a more important conversation here about number one, about firstly leak culture in general. Like, should people be reporting on leaks like this where it gets out in the open? Is it bad form? Is it bad taste? Is to I mean, leaks kind of suck because they take away that surprise. They take away that moment, and that does suck. But it's not like, to me, that's not like life ending, ruining.
No,
Like like, are you going to enjoy these leaked games less when they do eventually come out for release and play them? Are you suddenly going to enjoy them less because you knew about it earlier? I doubt that. But it does suck because it does take away the joy of having that announcement, having that sort of like
media,
exciting.
press, journal, they should talk about anything that is out in the open. They should report on it. They should talk about it. Uh, I don't think I don't think you should limit what they're talking about. Um,
Right, so you're kind of taking the angle of like no one should be beholden to a publisher.
no, that is one thing that I have a real problem with, like the games industry in general, is how beholden publishers keep all of media, influencers, everything.
Mhm.
Like they go to great lengths to make sure that any media coverage, be it influencer, be it actual press, whatever, is beholden to them. It's one of the reasons why like they had a hard time having legacy media cover them. Why we make jokes about like, oh, the LA Times sent someone to E3, and it's like, why does legacy media not cover games all that much? And it's some of the trades are now starting to cover it. Well, part of it is that publishers try to control access to who's going to give them the most favorable
Yeah.
reviews, and like they literally try to corner whoever is going to, they want to keep them on a tit basically, so that they will always get positive reviews from this person, and so this person's going to be the person they allow to see it. And it's like, nah, forget that. That's not, is your product good? Then it'll speak for itself.
Yeah.
Like I don't like stuff like that in general. That being said, do I think that leaks suck? Yeah, I do. I think that there's sometimes there's positives that can come from leaks, but overall, I feel like leaks do more damage than good
Yeah,
most of the time.
especially because one thing that is already happening. It happened with, to go back in time a little bit, to a game that is announced, that is known. Let's talk about GTA 6. That got a big leak from some guy's kid, right?
Yeah.
And a bunch of footage got on the internet of GTA 6, and a lot of people. There was an insanely funny meme that came from it, where someone tried to say how in trouble the game was because as the I'm sorry, the dumbass in question, I don't even remember your name, it's not important, said, if you know anything about games development, you know graphics are the first thing they finish, which couldn't be more oppositely, untrue. But
Just a friendly reminder that like 80% of the internet are teens who don't know shit. Like
so
that's who's on social media and us.
which led to a hilarious dunking from many game developers going like, yeah, like let me show you what an early build of my and it was great because I don't know if it was allowed to or not, because like it was finished games, but like um someone from Guerrilla Games was like, here's what the T-Rex looked like up until like months before the game went gold. It looked like a little Connects. It
Yeah.
looked like a little Lego Connects T-Rex. He's like, yeah, this is what it is. It's just a bunch. It looks like a little like little Connect Lego dinosaur because it's just hitboxes. And they're like, yeah, we're just using this. This is what it looked like for most of its development. When it was time to finish the game, we made it look like the thing it is you see in game. But before that, it was a little boxy little colorful thing with big colorful spots of like, this is the hurt part, this is da da da. So I
Polishing
loved
always
that.
comes last.
But anyway, yeah, but the point was just kind of like people were getting freaked out, and like again, dumbasses were saying like, this game's in trouble, look how bad the graphics look. And I'm like, this game is years away. You have like, I'm like, and it was one of those like, oh, Jesus help me, but like people, you really have no idea how game development is made. Most games look like mud before, up until like the final stretch.
Most
Um,
games barely work up until the final
most
stretch.
games, to be
It's
fair,
all
most
duct
games
tape.
barely work. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
It's
um,
I do think that that's one of my favorite things about the internet in general is like the more confident someone says something on the internet, the more likely it is they don't know anything about what they're talking about. Like people who know what they talk about add caveats all the time.
yeah.
Like they hedge certain things because they know how much they don't know or how much
Hmm.
is variable, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh
Especially the variable. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like somebody speaking as an absolute authority on the internet always is more often than not, it turns out that they don't know
I
shit.
mean, I can tell you with absolute authority, straight up, a game like GTA 6, it looked like that because it was development footage, not meant to ever be seen by a public eye. And
Right.
yeah, it looked bad because it's so far from finished. And the finished footage we have seen from the two official trailers obviously look light years better because that's a finished that is close to a finished product
Oh,
versus a game that was years from even being shown publicly and is basically just kind of like mostly what it was it was all scripting stuff of like, okay, is you see all these like boxes and lines come up, like is cash register button prompt, is the prompting working, is if you go up to switch in the game, it does is the and you press the button, is it registering? It's all just like really basic scripting stuff.
yeah, it's like visual effect before the wireframing in movies for visual effects that haven't been put in yet. If you go see an
Yeah.
early like I don't know, they don't really do them much anymore, but do you remember early 2000s, you'd sometimes get test screenings for movies that haven't had the visual effects finished
Oh
yet,
yeah.
and you were
Oh yeah.
just like going, and it would either cut to like animatics, storyboards,
Hmm.
or sometimes it would cut to the like actors performing the scene, but with none of the visual effects
Yeah.
done. Uh, or I can't remember. I'm blanking on which movie it was, but I remember as a kid going to one where they literally would just cut to black and like someone would say what was happening here for like a key scene that was being reshot or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I I just have a memory of being, and I was probably 8 or 9,
Hmm.
of just being like in an early screening and be like just stoked that we were in an early screening. Um, was it The Rocketeer? What year did The Rocketeer come out?
Like 91, 2, something like that.
Oh no, that couldn't have been The Rocketeer. I was too young for that. I don't know. But the point is like some of it'd be super unfinished stuff.
Yeah.
And the amount of one of the reasons they stopped doing that is feedback would be like all over the place, horrendous, because the audience is almost never prepared to finish the leap. They can't see the vision,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like they can't follow. And it's the same with video game. You see a half finished video game and you're all like, "Oh, this looks like garbage." Yeah, because you can't see the vision. You can't see what the finished product is going to look like. It's
I saw an early screening of Sucker Punch.
oh
Because
yeah,
like
I saw an early screener. I went
oftentimes
with
they won't
BoJack.
tell you. Yeah, they won't tell
Really?
you what the screening. They won't tell you what
Yeah.
the movie is. Oftentimes, you get there, I'm like, we're showing you an early screen Sucker Punch, and it was mostly done actually. But it had a completely different ending, and the ending wasn't very good. And
Oh, it was
the
much more
press,
depressing, right?
yeah, they. So here's a frustrating part: is like the screening I saw, the ending was completely different from the finished product, and I said the ending not very good. I know what I know what you're trying to do, but it kind of like it kind of came off as like, I want to have a David Lynch ending, and I've not made a David Lynch film at all. And it's like, okay. Um, so I said the ending was eh. And then apparently Bojack told me he went to a second screening where they changed the ending, and all of the notes were basically what pretty close to what I said they should have done instead. And then the film came out and it had a completely different ending from that.
Wow.
So the film actually had like at least 3 different endings at some point in production.
Well, the Winnetka Theater, gone
It's
but not
gone.
forgotten. The Winnetka Theater, for those of you that the Valley, if you're not from LA sits, and then there's a mountain range, and then there's this huge valley that everyone calls the Valley. Valley girls like Clueless. Winnetka was this like big theater in Winnetka, the small city in the valley, and all of the test screenings were there. I can't remember of a single. I think I went to one test screening not at Winnetka, but Winnetka for some reason, and oddly enough, I found out later, loads of production people, like gaffers, like below the line production people lived in Winnetka. Like a ton of them lived in Winnetka. Gaffers, grips, carpenters, so that for the industry. And I wonder if that's the reason why that one theater was where everyone went. Because every time I went there to see a movie, I'd get
I just
offered
figured
to see a screening.
it was in the center of the valley, in the center of a big suburban place, and they just get a lot of fucking eyes on it.
Now you'd think Burbank, right? Burbank would
No,
make
it's
more
too
sense.
that's too upscale. That's the problem.
Hmm.
And it's not like centralized in the like, middle of the valley. Burbank's up against a hill, and it's kind
Yeah,
of like
that's true, I
upscale up
guess.
against. So it's like to me, I'm just thinking geographically, put it in the middle. They
That
went
and I
for the
suppose
middle.
too much production happens in Burbank too, and they don't want necessarily they want general audience as much as possible.
Yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, weird aside. But yeah, Game Freak leaks. We're not going to talk about the games that are coming, although obviously it's probably Pokemon. But it's
Like
more
someone
Pokemon.
showed a meme that was really funny online where it was like a Conan O'Brien skit, and he was had Harrison Ford on the show, and he was like, "Here, I'm gonna give you, however many, like $100 or whatever it was, like this wad of cash. You gotta tell us something, something new, something exclusive about the next Star Wars." And then the last shot is just Harrison Ford taking money. He's just like, "They're thinking of doing another." So he's like, "Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll give you an exclusive bit. They're thinking of doing a sequel." And so it was just kind of like, "Yeah, okay. Well, that's no surprise there. You didn't need a leak for that." But yeah, to me, there is information within this Game Freak leak, the Game Freak leak, that I
Freak
feel
leak.
the Freak leak. There is information that I think is relevant, and to me, it's stuff that I think should be public, but I know why they're not doing it public, and we're
Yeah.
just going to talk about it. And we now know the budgets, or at least the development, probably not the advertising, but the development budget of the recent and upcoming Pokemon games. And it is tiny. I give shit to Pokemon's graphics every week. At least once a week I give
This
shit to Pokemon's
explains it.
graphics. It does. It kind of does. It explains a part of it anyways. I'm not going to shit on anything in the leak as far as like graphics go because that's unfair. Even if the game doesn't look good when it comes out, it is wildly unfair to look at a game years from release and say like, well, the graphics look bad on this. They're not even trying. I'm like, bro, like any game would look bad this far out. Any game would. So, um, for games that have released or are releasing this week, we know the budget of it, and we know that the game that, for example, the game releasing this week doesn't look very good graphically. Period. Even for a Switch One game, it doesn't look very good. It just doesn't. And now we know the budget is minuscule on the thing. Not count probably not counting advertising, but like development, not great.
Does
Not very
Pokemon
much.
count as a AAA game?
They sell it for $70. They
So it's
sell
a AAA game.
they sell two versions of like the main generation. Sword
Before
and
you say what
Shield,
the
Scarlet
budget
Violet.
was, what is the average budget for a AAA game right now? I think it's like 200 million, right? Or it's like it's
I mean,
100
it
million?
used to be 100, but it's closer to two now. But yeah, like 100.
$200 million dollars is
Let's
the
say 100.
average.
Let's say 150.
To be kind.
To be kind.
And that's
Um,
before marketing and all this. It's just 150 for a AAA game, 150
well,
million. Right, because didn't Spider-Man have a ton? It was a $200 million game, and then
Spider-Man
they
was a $300 million. It was 300 million, but I think that's with
before.
marketing.
Oh, with marketing?
I think.
I mean, that makes a difference because a lot of the time they double the budget on marketing.
Yeah, I think they spent 310 or 300 something million. Last of Us 2 was like 220, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
it
remember
was
that.
like 210 for Horizon 2 or something.
Okay. So
But
150, $200 million for a AAA game is the average budget right now.
yeah,
And what is the average budget? What is the budget for this upcoming AAA Pokemon?
$13 million.
Sorry, one more time.
13.
13 million. 10% of the average of every other AAA game. So why does it look 10% as good? Well, now, okay, on a positive side, they're killing it. They're murdering it. They make $1 billion with every single one that comes out. What is it, like 50 dudes sharing a trench coat and a single computer making
Here's the
this
funny thing, Andrew. Here's the funny thing. Like I'm digging this up because it was with marketing. The budget for Spider-Man 2 was roughly 315, about $330 million.
my God.
30 for marketing.
Okay.
The game's budget was $300 million.
Yeah, that's impressive for marketing to be so cheap, though.
Well, I guess Spider-Man 2, what did they have to do?
I mean, that doesn't matter. Marketing should never be as expensive as it is, generally speaking.
But again, we also found out a big part of that was because of the license. Like Disney's license and cut was enormous on Spider-Man.
Always is.
So, like that was a huge part of it. Like their cut was like 100 million.
What?
Yeah. Their cut was like 40%.
How does that even? What?
Yeah.
And then they didn't get paid on the back end, or they did get paid on the back end too?
They probably got paid on the back end. No, they actually absolutely had a share of the revenue or share of the sales. Yes.
I would have said no. I'm Sony. I would have just said no. No, I'm not doing it. What? That doesn't even make sense. Sony owns Spider-Man.
Right. So no, Sony doesn't own Spider-Man. Sony owns film rights, not merchandise rights, and I believe gaming falls under merchandise. The only reason there hasn't been ever wasn't an aggressive push by Disney to get Spider-Man back from Sony was because Disney actually retained the merchandising rights to Spider-Man.
Well, I'm
So
not up
if you
on
ever
this. So
wondered why they were so gung ho about getting like, it wasn't just for X-Men or whatever, it wasn't just for Marvel, but like the Fox deal, the reason they were so adamantly against putting X-Men and Fantastic Four and things for a while when Fox owned them was because Fox had merchandising rights. Fox had full rights to X-Men and Fantastic Four and whatever else they had at the time, right? It's why in, say, Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, as we famously know, did not put any X-Men or Fantastic Four in it on purpose, but it still had Spider-Man and Venom because Disney still got money. They were okay with Spider-Man and Venom because they still got merchandising cut off it. Sony had film rights specifically, and again, I think gaming falls under merchandising.
wild.
So yeah, so Disney got a big old cut of Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man 2 is kind of an overly extreme example of out of control budgeting, with $300 million to budget alone, not even including marketing. Let's be more fair here and talk about like an internally developed Sony owned IP, which is Horizon 2, Last of Us 2, and both of them cost just north of 200 million, right? So
Still
210,
insane.
220, $220. That's the budget for a Last of Us 2, a Horizon 2. They're spending 13 on Pokemon. They're selling for the same price, and it looks like it too.
Selling
So
for the same price, and Pokemon's making $1 billion per game. About
they're bringing in, if you just looked at the, okay, like let's look at let's, I'm not good with math, but let's just look at the straight information provided by Nintendo publicly on their website, for the Switch. Let's look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or Pokemon Sword and Shield. They 27 and 26 million copies. Well, Sword and Shield's almost 26. 27 million copies of Scarlet and Violet are sold at $70, or no, sorry, $60 a piece. So
pretty
26, I don't, again, I'm not a math guy. If you want to bring up a calculator or something, 27 million times 60,
it's a lot.
it's like $1.5 billion, whatever. I'm just the mathing there. It take away however much cut you got from like retail distribution or whatever, and they're still walking home with like $1 billion at the end of the day, and they spent 13, roughly somewhere around 13 for it.
1,620,000,000 for 27 million times 6.
$1.6 billion.
That's a lot. They
They
did
walked
well.
they walked home with a cool Billy.
Yeah,
At
I
least.
wouldn't be mad at it.
So
I wouldn't be mad at making that kind of money.
now this is probably, again, the reason why this was never public information. Is probably a good reason, because people are probably going to look at that and go, "Why are you charging $60 or $70 for a Pokemon game when like
Because the
it
market
doesn't
can bear.
even it doesn't need to even sell anywhere close to that amount to make its money back." Like it's making like 98, 99% return on investment.
Kills. I mean, could you imagine being that investor? Buy Nintendo, boys. To the moon. What
So
is
yeah,
this?
and I think obviously I don't know how much backlash there's going to be, because as we've seen with the Pokemon fans in general, if anything, I think this leak happening to the Game Freak leak is almost a good thing that they are who they are, because they had their sort of litmus test when Scarlet and Violet came out, and these games were functionally broken and visually appalling. And a huge swath of their fan base just collectively shrugged their shoulders. Don't care, game's fun. Which, hey, you know what? People spend their money, enjoy your stuff however you want. Knowing now that people know how little you spent on Scrum, it makes things make sense for why the game looks and performs so bad. But on the other hand, Pokemon fans have clearly already demonstrated that I don't care.
And if you had fun, it was worth the money for you, I guess that's fine.
Right,
Look,
because I mean, at the end of the day, if the vast majority of those 27 million people are happy with the product they got, then it's kind of like, well,
yeah, the
this
market
is,
can bear it.
yeah, market compare, like Sailor V, I guess. Like, I'm certainly not. I will not be. Again, it's frustrating to me because I actually think, I truly do think Pokemon is a good franchise. I think the gameplay loop, to bring this back to the beginning of the episode, I think the gameplay loop of Pokemon is a very solid gameplay loop.
Yeah.
I think the structure and form of what the base core Pokemon, Gen 1, from the beginning, what it is, what that loop is, it's a really good idea. It's a cool idea. It's a cool world. It's a cool franchise. It's got, appealing character designs. It's got, and the gameplay loop is fun. It's easy to understand. It's addictive, and by design, it is a good solid franchise. It has a really, again, it is very well maintained. Or it's a really good idea. The frustrating part for me is that you have the technology. Obviously with the Switch 2, even, I mean, the Switch 1 had the technology. My God, look at the Xenoblade games. But Switch 2, you definitely have the technology. But more frustrating than that is we now know. Now we literally have receipts. Now you have the money. You clearly have the money to make this thing look really good. Like really, really, like really make it sing. Like this thing could look, and the thing is like a Xenoblade budget. I don't know what a Xenoblade budget is. There's been speculation that their games cost 40 to 60 somewhere, 40 to 60 million dollars with, for those games, and those games are, obviously the worlds beyond
Well,
Pokemon
they're
game,
a
and they have
way bigger team, right?
no
How big is the team?
roughly the same.
Really?
There's Game Freak has about 200 employees. Monolith Soft has like now has close to 3.
Monolith Soft must pay much better.
Not really. They are.
Where does all this money go? What do they
Yes,
do with
Andrew. Yes. Now
what do
now
they
you're now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. Now it's hitting you. Now that it's hitting me, that's hit me a long time ago. And where are you? What are you doing with all this money? like,
cocaine?
like Scrooge. What do you like, Scrooge McDuck? Is there just like a Pokemon vault somewhere that you swim in it? Like,
Hey, Hmm. What? Well, Nintendo's the one that everyone always is like, yeah, it was a Yakuza clan for forever, right? Like
the
or
funny thing is,
something.
like, I personally have no proof whatsoever that Nintendo ever had any Yakuza under connections or ties. However, they're so old and they've been around for so long that I'm like, they don't have connections because they are the clan.
Right.
Like, to me, I'm like, I don't know if Nintendo has any connections, but in my mind, it's probably because they literally are the patriarchal family of a Yakuza clan, probably.
They're a gaming company. Hmm.
I mean, they've
Well,
been
that
around for over 100 years, doing all kinds of various other things. So,
well, and Yakuza really started post World War II with gambling and like smuggling and stuff.
I
But it
technically
was
they
based on
actually
clan structures and stuff.
technically they go back way further than that, even too, if you want to get into like the real history, like with the Shinsengumi and all the other stuff, and sort of
Interesting.
it goes way back. But like, again, that's it's kind of like saying, like, do like, we will not get into it, but like, yeah, like Yakuza is a really interesting. It's a really interesting history, but it in a sense it technically goes back really far. But yes, there is also the sort of more modern day, modern era aspect of it,
You would have
of
been
course. But
so proud of me. I stopped myself from doing an actually moment of having an actually. Someone posted Christopher Columbus was so cruel that the Spanish government arrested him and sent him to jail, blah blah. And I had this like, well, actually, they arrested him and used his cruelty as an excuse because they didn't like the deal they made with him, giving him 10% of everything he found. And they renegotiated the deal with him, and then suddenly the charges were dropped, and he was allowed a fourth voyage.
He was allowed a fourth voyage. No, well, but the report from the guy who brought him in on the third, because he brought him in, he was over on
Yeah,
his third, and then the guy, the Inquisitor, literally in like Spanish Inquisitor, his report back was like he was appalled at what he saw.
yeah. But the Spanish don't care. Like it's this
But on the
weird.
other hand, yes, did anything change because of it? No.
No,
Like,
there's literally a mine in. I don't want to get this wrong. It's either Venezuela or Bolivia. I'm, but it's literally called like the mountain made of men because so many indigenous slaves died mining the silver from it in brutal, terrible. Like the Spanish weren't some like conquistadors were literally mercenaries that bought a contract from the crown to go raid and conquest. Literally bought a contract to go rape and pillage their way around the New World as long as they didn't raid any Spanish settlements. Like Hernan Cortez was BlackRock. Like he went down to the worst parts of town. Was like, "Hey, I'm forming a company to go maim and take." As long as they paid the royal fifth, that was what was negotiated. By the way, they negotiated a new charter where the crown gets a fifth of everything that conquistadors and Columbus and others say. But the reason we celebrate Columbus is because in like 1890 something, a bunch of Italians got lynched because Italians weren't considered white. And so they
right.
were like, yeah, but Columbus, an Italian, found America.
So
Let's
weird to me
celebrate
that
him.
they found this guy who was a footnote in history, really, at the time. And we're like, you propped him up like Leonardo da Vinci was right there, you weirdos.
Nah, his name is an alliteration. Christopher Columbus. He found America, became a patriotic
None of that is true, but
thing.
it's just kind of like to me it was
Yeah, but
always
loads of our
weird.
holidays aren't true. This is, but yeah, I had an
It's
actually moment.
wild to it's just wild to me that on the week of it, of Indigenous People Day. Um it's just wild to me that the story about like how did this become a thing, and it was like you said, like because they wanted to like they it was sort of like a PR machine. We need to find our big big PR American Italian hero. I'm like, you had so many other cool good Italian people you could have pulled from, and you pulled this asshole. Whatever.
I mean, it's one of those. Our history is just a bunch of different PR campaigns that turned into like historical facts, but it's just PR campaigns.
Like, I don't know. History is so much more fun when you actually know the truth too. Not fun, but depressing, but also can be more interesting in a fun sort of way where it's like Andrew Jackson is a terrible person. He's on what, the $20 bill.
Yeah.
He's kind of exonerated, horrible person. But my God, you can't help but like how if you read his transaction of beating a man, how he got the name Old Hickory. He was arguing with a senator and he got into a fisticuff fight where he beat a man within an inch of his life with his hickory cane. And I'm like, and that's how he solved a dispute on the Senate floor. And I'm like, this is fascinating.
Oh yeah.
This should be what you're learning.
You read about the caning of Sumner, and you're all like, "Man, I wish we still had like Congress and senators that stood up for what they believed in." But if you know why Sumner was caned, you're all like, "Oh, the guy who did the caning was a huge piece of shit, massive piece of shit." But man, did he believe? Uh, he caned Sumner because Sumner was an abolitionist, and he was clearly pro-slavery. This is leading up into the Civil War for all of you not in the United States. If you ever want a really funny time, explain to a Texan why the Alamo happened at all.
Yeah. God, I can't remember
What do
if it was
what do you mean we
Andrew.
were fighting for
Was
slavery?
I can't remember if it was Andrew Jackson or if it was like Zachary Taylor or which one. There was a president who just loved duels. Like,
That's Jackson.
was it Jackson? I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was Jackson. Where it's like
He
he
got
loved
hepatitis and a couple other infections because of all the bullets that were still in him.
he loved like this is how much of a fucking psychopath.
He
An
would
exonerated
throw
president one's like he's like, let's have a duel. Like he just loved to have like march 10 paces, turn around and shoot each other. Fastest one wins or whatever. It's like this is
Southern
what
honor
this
culture. Southern honor culture was a huge thing. They had to make all sorts of rules about duels in early colonial America, but also in early American, like post-revolution. We made all sorts of laws, and they made them more and more complex to make the rules harder to follow, to try and get rid of Southern dueling culture, because Southern
But
honor culture was
just
so
think about how
strong.
much of a psychopath this guy was. He enjoyed basically a duel, like a pretty much a fight to like a quick fight to the death for disagreement, like casually, like let's just casually try to murder each other.
Hamilton and Burr. Hamilton did the northerner gentleman's, okay, we've settled this, and fired in the air. And Burr was like, nah, F that, and shot Hamilton. Okay, because one was all like, yeah, in the north we're gentlemen, and the other was all like, yeah, well, down here. Okay.
He pulled a bit for a Mad Dog 10, and you thought wrong, dude.
like, I was another thing I was explaining to a texter. I was all like, "Yeah, have you ever read anything about Jim Bowie?" He's like, "Yeah, he made the Bowie knife famous." But did you read why? He was a slave smuggler. Not only was he a slaver, piece of shit, he was then also not liking the profit margins he was making on slaving. So he would smuggle slaves into areas he wasn't allowed to sell them, pay a fine in Texas in order to legitimize the slaves he stole. Essentially, he would steal other people's slaves off the streets and then resell them in New Orleans. The reason he got into so many fucking knife fights is because he was a huge piece of shit. So he designed a special knife for killing, because he was a big old piece of shit. And he used all that money to become a land prospector, which is what he put on all of his business stuff. He's a land prospector, not a
Real
slave
estate.
trader.
You know, it is kind of funny how you go from slaver to landlord
Real fast.
real fast.
History is, again, PR moves. Just a lot of, anyway, Game Freak. But everybody would be very proud of me, guys.
So let's
I
move
didn't get
back in.
into the
Let's move
internet
back into glorified
arguments.
cockfighting, which is
Yes. Pokemon Dark for a lot of reasons.
but no, I mean, like I personally think companies should be open. I think it's ridiculous that it took the deposition with the FTC over the Microsoft Activision um, buyout. It took that for us to learn the budgets of Last of Us and Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It took the Insomniac leak. It's another leak, where we got that. That's where we got the Spider-Man budget from. So we learned the budget for Spider-Man from that leak, and now we're learning the Game Freak leak. We're learning what they're spending on Pokemon, which is like laughably small. And again, like there's a part of me that sits there and thinks, like, man, if you're an employee at Game Freak and you now know, I mean, you probably would know if you worked there anyways, but just knowing that, like, okay, like how much money each individual game has brought in just on the Switch generation alone, every single one of the people working there should be a millionaire. Should be. With like less than 200 people who made this game approximately, and this is how much money was could just be spread around. Each of them should have $1 million, and none of them do.
Yeah, I mean, you'd really think there'd be some like profit incentives, like bonuses and stuff, but no, we don't. I mean, nobody does that anymore. That's all gone.
Like that's kind of like that to me. That would be
Actually,
the more
doesn't
insulting
Valve
part.
do that? Doesn't Valve have like a?
I think there was stuff like Valve was a very weird progressive company in that sense of how they do it, but they don't make games anymore, so they just buy yachts.
That's just one guy.
Gabe and buys another yacht, and you glaze him for it.
Yachts are cool.
Doesn't need
Specifically, sailing
fucking
yachts are
6 to
cool.
8 mega yachts.
Oh, there's a lot of things people don't. No one needs a blowjob, but basically everyone's
Hold
pretty
up.
cool with those.
Hold on. Time out.
Okay,
Time
a
out.
super yacht
Don't
is
take
just one big blowjob.
let's not say anything we can't take back here, Andrew.
A super yacht is just one big blowjob.
No.
Okay, it's just real cool.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Somebody right.
But I think one of the things that, like, knowing that Game Freak is spending so little and still making such a return, it makes you realize, one, also other games are way too bloated. Clearly,
Well, I
clearly
mean,
other games could they could cut back a little bit and put more time into the loop and less time into getting hyper real. Like, look at the
we
freckle on this actor's butthole.
yeah, we definitely said this. People were saying this when Spider-Man's budget came out, and like that is way too much. You need
Yeah,
to
it's
rein shit needs to be reined in. And Spider-Man 2 is a good game, but with $300 million, like $330 million, what the
but
Jesus
a lot
Christ.
of that is just like it's poor project planning, it's bloat. Like a lot of that's bloat. Like a lot of like we were talking about how Borderlands 4 just like had a memory leak when it launched.
Yeah.
And they were like, "We'll fix it eventually." Like, there's just bloat. There's things I don't know. And I don't know enough about game development to say that with true authority, but it's like,
I mean, that's the thing is like the budget is only explaining away a small part of why this Pokemon. Because again, it was Scarlet Violet, the worst offender, made very quickly when it shouldn't have been, made very fast. Not a lot of people. So um, the other problems that sort of plague like a lot of other big AAA games is project management, is bloat, is scope creep and feature creep, and um, those are all other major contributing factors. Like
changing the core concept of the game midway
right.
through development. Yeah.
There's a part of me that I want to say, for example, like I want to say Ghost of Yote, which I beat sort of recently. There's a part of me that wants to say this shouldn't have taken 5 years to make. That may not necessarily be true though, but there's enough mechanics and systems that are so similar to the last game they made that part of me wonders if like was did it really need to take this long?
Well, how
Maybe
much
it didn't.
direct development time and how much was pre-production?
Exactly. Well, that and yeah, again, because I don't know the ins and outs. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. And maybe Yote didn't come in hot. You know what I mean? Like it didn't. Like they didn't release it as like they put the finishing touches on it. Maybe they had time to sort of sit and polish the game. Yeah, maybe we could have rushed it out. In 4 years, but it might have been kind of buggy. It might have been. It may not have. All the
I
things may not have functioned properly. Yada yada. And I'm all for like, hey, yeah, you can give games time to breathe and polish and whatever, of course. So,
but I also
um,
there's not a lot of interest in how games are made. Like the
yeah,
general audience doesn't care
yeah, most
about
of the
that
time they
behind the
don't.
scenes conversation.
The only thing they care about is like whether or not they feel if they got ripped off or not.
Well, it's like you remember directors' commentary on DVDs?
Hmm.
I used to like watch the director and listen to the director's commentary all the time, like voraciously would do that stuff. And then they got rid of it. And I remember one of the reasons it was in an article in the Hollywood Reporter, the reason why they stopped worrying about doing that one, because DVDs stopped being the
Yeah,
priority. But two, they were just like, well, people aren't interested in how this like sausage is made. And it's like, but with movies, people are interested. Like
they
lots
are,
of
but
people
they
are
they
interested.
they're interested in like a TikTok or a YouTube short. Like give me a
Well, that's
quick
true
fact or two.
now, but like for even 5 years ago, that's
Mm,
not necessarily true.
mm.
It's like we just don't have access to the people doing these things anymore. Like if you like filmmaking and you want a really it can be dry, but it is very much that commentary. Roger Deakins, one of the greatest cinematographers alive, has a podcast. I think it's called Team Deakins, and it's him and his wife. And they interview people. Like they have one that's great with Denis Villeneuve. Villeneuve? How
Vino,
I keep screwing up
Denny
his name.
Vino. When he
Uh,
said it, Edo, I'm Denny Vino, and I was like, okay, that's how
Villeneuve.
it's go.
Cool.
Vino, he
Uh,
doesn't even say Dennis or anything.
well,
Denny Vino. I'm like,
Denny, I knew that. French is one of those ones where they just drop sounds all the time, and it's
yeah,
like, and he's French Canadian,
yeah,
I
French
think,
Canadian, yeah.
which is slightly different than like Parisian French, which drops different. Uh, French shouldn't be that hard of a language, and yet
And
somehow
Cajun.
Well, yeah, Cajun
This is
is
its
a
own
French
wild
Creole.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, French
Um,
Creole.
but they have a really great interview with him where he talks about his process and especially with how he works with writers and stuff like that. But like they have all sorts of insight and they'll do like casting directors. What's the casting process from beginning to end? And so like you'll learn some stuff and then when you see announcements of like how Amazon wants Jacob Elordi to be the new Bond and why is that being announced? Well, it's part of the casting process to judge reactions. Some producer doesn't believe the casting
Mm,
director, and so the casting director leaked it to show how
yeah,
much interest
yeah.
there is, or a producer leaked it to prove there is no interest, or sometimes the producer's the one obsessed with the actor and they leak it to bully the casting director into recommending the actor they want. But it's like we don't have that for games. We don't get that sort of there's not the same
Yeah.
media presence, but also it's just like it might be a charisma thing. You know, a lot of game developers and game directors, as we've seen from award shows, and stuff like they're not necessarily the most charismatic for like interviews or
Yeah.
for like doing streams or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
for every Itagaki and every Joseph Ferris, you get there's a million others who are just sort of like, you know,
right.
Hidetaki Miyazaki from Soft. I'm like, thank you.
And
you know?
and then also like they in a way benefit from keeping it opaque, keeping it secret in some ways, you know, how production works because then they can sort of change things on the fly as they wish, right? Like nobody has
Yeah.
expectations of what it looks like. But it would be cool if we could find, you know, we've had developers on, but we've never gone, you know, brass tacks of like what does the development cycle look like
Hmm.
really? Like why what is a 5, you know, we had Rick on but we talked very much about his journey specifically. We didn't necessarily talk about like because he's a community guy. Um but like
And Grayzone's an interesting thing because it's kind of being
it's
made kind
outside
of
of the traditional.
yeah, it's kind of being made
Yeah,
ad hoc or whatever, or not ad hoc, but like almost
as
at home. You could almost say like different parts being made different places, and Thousand
right.
Times Resist was like that, and there's some other game that just got announced that's being made like that. Oh yeah, they someone said it on like LinkedIn or something. They announced that Avatar fighting game, and it's being made all over the world. Technically,
We're
like
too irreverent to get someone like at a big AAA developer to come on and explain the process. We're too
I've never tried, but it would be funny if I tried to pull some string somewhere. I was like, wait, let's see if I can get someone from Naughty Dog on.
Oh, could you imagine if we got Druckmann on here and you get to lambast him
The
for an
thing is, it's
hour?
just kind of like I don't even want to I don't even want to lambast him. I'm just kind of like, man, I think people again. I say this too about RPGs all the time. I want an RPG where it has a statement and a point to make, even if I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
So I think, really with someone like Druckmann, it's like, do I agree with Druckmann's styles, his choices, no, but he had a thing he wanted to say, and he made a game with a stated goal and a stated theme, and he did it. What he made a statement with it, and that's what I want, even when I don't agree with it. I think if you're going to make something again, if you're going to be like story driven, narratively driven in your game, whether it's action or RPG or whatever, you should have something you're trying to say. I think trying to like having a little bit more personal, like I have something I wish to say, or I have a point and purpose, a theme, something that we can talk about thematically, whatever. Uh, I think that's great. I mean, I'd rather he make a game that he makes a statement, and I don't agree with it at all, but he made it, and it got made.
Yeah.
To me, that's more important than if it was like, okay, well, we're gonna make what were you trying to say? Like nothing. I was just making a game with zombies. I didn't have any thought with it. It's like,
There is
like
no theme.
there's no theme in Resident Evil 4, but it's not trying either. Um, There's almost a refreshing part where it's like, man, I was just flying by the seat of my pants making this game. We just wanted to. My whole thing was like, I just wanted to make the loop good, and that's what I've heard from people, who've talked to Mikami and others on the inside, where it's like, no, man, the game project was falling apart. The development was a disaster. So when we rebooted it a fourth time, I just quickly came up with a scenario really fast. And I said, we've got to make the gameplay loop fun. If the gameplay loop isn't fun, it doesn't matter what we do narratively.
Well, I think
Which
that's something
for
that's
Resident
interesting.
Evil, very important.
Japanese game development seems to be loop first, story later.
It is very much so for Nintendo, and they're very adamant at Nintendo about that.
And a lot of Western AAA specifically now seems to be story forward, loop later.
And again, I'm not, and I don't want to sound hypocritical here or like be on play both sides, but I'm like, if narrative is the goal of the game, if you make a narrative based game, especially like a visual novel or whatever, yeah,
Totally fine. Yeah.
you should definitely. I want you to have a point to what you're saying. Um, if that is the goal of the game, if the game is sort of centered around that, Last of Us is centered around its narrative. It is. It's not
Yeah.
centered around its gameplay. It's never. And I don't even really believe Last of Us, even part one. I don't even believe part one was trying to be centered around its gameplay. It's always been about narrative. It's
No,
always
and I
been.
mean, that being said, it is still fun gameplay, but it's not
Sure, but I
necessarily
mean, like
like
it always seemed to me like they were always presenting the game as a narrative
right.
experience,
You're
and
playing
that's
to get to
fine,
the next story beat.
and that is totally fine, totally fine, especially with this type of game or whatever. I would, I want there, of course, I expect there to be some narrative, something to Intergalactic, but I actually kind of hope Intergalactic's a little more gameplay first. Like, work on the setting, sure, setting's cool, whatever. I don't necessarily need. I'm not looking for some crazy like Blade Runner, style of like Nature of Humanity storytelling in Intergalactic.
Oh, you know it's going to be along those lines though.
I hope
They're
not, because
addicted to it now.
part of me is just kind of like, I hope this is sort of them just like, hey, let's do something that's a little more gameplay centric, and we'll have this. We'll have it, of course, but gameplay centric side of it, and I think the best games find a way to balance it. If you're this is gonna sound so terrible. If you're making Resident Evil, I don't think you should focus on the story. I'm sorry, Resident Evil fans. I know how much there's so much diehard love for the lore, but it's always hilarious to me to see how much love and reverence and sort of fanaticism is behind the lore of Resident Evil, and the original Resident Evil developers, and people are going to try to refute this. They brought in a writer and it was very important to them. Like, Mikami and Kamiya for 1 and 2, they were flying by the seat of their fucking pants. Resident Evil 1 is a game that was not there, and again, there's a great interview on YouTube that's very long with Mikami about it. It's nothing but compromise. It was supposed to be a haunted house game. It was supposed to be in first person. It was supposed to be about ghosts. It ended up with tank controls, static camera, and zombies, all because the gameplay wasn't coming together. Resident Evil 2 was just kind of like, I'm just doing, like, I don't, Kami said, I don't even like scary stuff. I'm sorry. I made it more actiony because that's just what I know. Resident Evil 4 is the same way. I wrote the story in a weekend, and because it was falling apart, and I just had to come up with something. I just wanted the gameplay to be fun. So to me, it's like, yeah, like Resident Evil is a game where it's like, I think if you focus on gameplay before you focus on story, it's better for it. And there are games where that actually doesn't work. Allow me to extol to you. I recently, a week ago, uh, went back for the first time since launch of the game. Went back and played Tears of the Kingdom, because I have a Nintendo subscription. I get the Switch 2 edition for free, like the upgrade path for free. So I was like, okay, I can play this at 60 officially on a Switch 2. Let me go play Tears of the Kingdom, not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom.
Hmm.
And I went back and I was like, let me just do some shrines. There's a lot of stuff I missed. I kind of blazed through that game. There's a lot I didn't do in that game. So let me just go back and do this. This game sucks. My takeaway is that this game actually fucking sucks. Like, it is an engineering marvel. It is a technical masterpiece. It is a technical masterpiece. This game doesn't just shit itself constantly. Playing the game, just the act of playing the game, it sucks. just walking across the map sucks. Like realizing, oh, you have the little, you press the like down or up to like call your horse over. That only works if your horse is within proximity of you. You actually
Nice.
have to go pull it out of the stable if you want to. Oh, well, can I fast travel to a stable? No, you could only fast travel to shrine. So find a shrine near a stable and then go and talk to the dude and pull your horse out. You're going to be soft pausing it constantly because I'm at the point in the game where I'm at end game, right? So
Mhm.
the game is loaded into the game world now. Most of the villains are at their strongest tier. So everything fucking breaks before the enemy's even dead. Now you can't even finish off an enemy with a singular weapon. Now it might take multiple weapons. The only way around this is you have to go into the item pause menu, click an item, click click hold, then unpause it. You're holding this item, which is like, let's say it's like a moblin horn, just being just an example, right? So you went into the pause menu, clicked it, click on hold, exit pause menu. Character is now holding it in the game world. Press the X button or whatever it is to drop item on the ground. Okay, I dropped the item on the ground. Now I'm going to hold right, the soft pause, go over to a royal sword. I'm holding a royal sword now. Okay, now let go of that. Now I'm out of back in the main menu and I've got like the royal broadsword as my equipped weapon. Now I have to hold L and then press down on the right stick to go fuse to activate fuse, and this big fuse thing goes around me. And then these two buttons come up. Do you wish to fuse that moblin horn you dropped on the ground onto your shield or onto your sword? And I click the button, like the Y button, put it on my sword. So now my royal broadsword, which would not kill a single enemy, it would break before that enemy's dead because they're the special white and purple variants now all over. Now I have fused like a really good moblin horn onto it. So now it's a horn, moblin horn infused thing, and that is how you get a weapon to not break. And that is just fighting one goddamn Lizardfolds. All of those button prompts, all that shit, I had to do that before the battle. And then sometimes if your shit breaks in battle and you want to like not run out of weapons entirely, you have to do all that shit while this thing is attacking you possibly. So you just maybe you pull out a bow and then like you shoot a bomb at it to like or freeze it or something. But you pull out a bow, you have to hold down this button and then hold down a button and then press right, hold down right, and you pull out the bow and okay, I got the bow. But then you got to hold down another button to fuse an ice key swing to the arrow to make it an ice arrow. This game sucks. This game fucking sucks. The gameplay loop of this game fucking blows. And that is on top of the game having a notoriously even the diehard fan base of this game admits it. The narrative is fucking balls. It is fucking dead man sweaty balls. It is like the shittiest, nastiest, like
We
refrigerated fucking like 3-day old like whatever food, throw it in the microwave, like crappiest retread, narratively terrible game, just fucking god awful. Like it's a direct sequel that like where half of the world doesn't even know who you are and half do, and then everything that happened, no one remembers what happened in the last game from 5 years ago. But like strangely, a couple of them got. It's so narratively fucking bad. It's fucking terrible. It's terrible as a sequel. It's terrible on its own, narratively speaking. It's terrible as like as a franchise. Like in the greater context of the full franchise, there are so many better narrative games in the Zelda franchise, which has never been that fucking heavily focused on. The game it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks to walk around and fucking sucks to engage in combat in that game. It kind of fucking blows, unless you have a bunch of saved blueprints just to make shit. And it's like, oh, I want to get to this thing up in the sky. Either warp up there or like, oh, well, you can build a thing here. Let me go and find all these little gotcha orbs, put them on the ground, and then like, okay, I'll have a blueprint, make it, or I have to put the sticky hand and like, maneuver all the physics based stuff all together, like nuts and bolts. I'm like,
I love
doing this shit is just this sucks. This
I,
isn't fun. Like having to soft pause or full pause this game constantly it sucks. Like you walk in you go into the desert because I'm doing a side quest in the desert. Oh, you're really hot. You got to change clothes. Hold on, let me let me go to the pause menu and tab over to the clothes. Let me find the clothing option that's like gonna like make you heat resistance. Okay, well, if you didn't fully upgrade that with some bullshit, like it's you won't die from the heat, but now you're gonna be like significantly weaker. And then okay, you leave the desert. Let's put your good clothes back on. Like stop and do that. Like there's no like hot swap, right? It's just fuck this game isn't fun.
I
This game
love
is not fun.
that we not only did you bring it full circle, but we're ending on some very spicy, divisive.
Like looking back at it, I'm sorry, Steph Sterling, she was right. She was right with Breath of the Wild when she gave that game a 7 and said like the fucking loop of this is fucking miserable. She was fucking right. None of y'all wanted to admit it. But but like time, I've never, I don't think I've ever soured because I was like, yeah, you know what, it's a little bit. I mean, I wasn't hot on Breath of the Wild. I was always kind of like, yeah, I don't really like,
I
I don't
had
like
fun
no,
with Breath of the Wild,
yeah,
but yeah, it's not.
I don't like how there's no music. I don't like how there's no real dungeons. I don't like how there's no like you get all the items you need at the beginning. You don't really like acquire anything cool or like further in, like but it's still fun. It's still good.
Yeah,
It's still good. It's still good. It's still good. And Tears came like it's just a little better than Breath. It looks better. It's a little better. You could do all the crazy combination shit. And again, engineering masterpiece, engineering marvel, engineering marvel. But the
it
loop.
sucks.
The loop fucking sucks. The narrative is fucking god awful. There's no goddamn music still. Much of the music you hear in the game is just repeated from the last game, even. This game is not good. It is not good. Like, just I like going back after playing so many other games that are both open world or real time action or even games that do have breakable weapons or whatever or similar type mechanics. Just going back to Tears of the Kingdom and just sort of like remembering what you have to do to like to refill your life. And by the way, my save file had a massive amount of the good items. I had like 100 fairies, 100 of the best Moblin axe parts because there was a dupe glitch that I abused the fuck out of when the game first came out. So I would never have to be scrambling looking for something. So I had I literally had all the best shit in my inventory that was duped as much as it could be, and it was just so I didn't have to go and search for this stuff to like make myself like have a chance. I was fully equipped, but just the act of constantly equipping and de-equipping and re-equipping just to walk across a small portion of the map, and I'm like, this game is terrible.
I wonder how
This
many
is a
people.
terrible fucking video game. Like this is not this. If you're a developer out there and you want to take stuff away from like oh, Zelda's so influential, maybe not, maybe don't. Like,
I wonder how
sit
many
there
people.
and go back and just try to do something in that game and realize like is the combat engaging? Is the battle system, the moment to moment gameplay, is it fun? No, it's constantly fucking pausing and unpausing a game.
How many people do you think it's their favorite Zelda?
Many millions. And you're all wrong.
Well,
No,
on that note,
hey man, look, man, if you love it, you love it. Because obviously people love Pikmin, and what the fuck? Um,
how dare you? Pikmin's a classic.
Pikmin is gaming's greatest nepo baby, is what Pikmin is.
Uh, I don't even want to open that can of worms. We're gonna get nothing but Pikmin comments. Watch now. On that note, we have producers to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/EOVideoGames podcast. Dude of the week was Oust Knight. Thank you so much, buddy. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Oust Knight, Donglemeister, Cyber Knight, Scrunami, Croy35, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.